Greetings, everyone. Uh, Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is Shadab Hussain. I'm the Director of Data and AI at Microsoft. Been working with the data analytics and AI for last more than 2 decades. I actually work with customers very closely. A lot of my customers have been using the AI. Pretty much everybody is in one stage or another with AI. A lot of experience working with them, seeing some of the challenges on the ground, how you use the Gen AI. But I'll tell you what, the technological challenges are nothing you need to worry about because there are plenty of tools available from Microsoft and all other providers. The real challenges in the Gen AI really come from the things like adoption, right? The adoption, the scalability, the concerns around the responsible AI, the safety, etc. I think those are the really the challenges, and also the challenge of measuring the impact. Many times it's hard to measure the ROI impact. Now, we're not going to go deeper into that today. However, we will actually learn about the Azure AI platforms and technologies. But if you want to have the conversations, talk to me, contact me. I'm available. This is my channel, the AI Files. I run an AI podcast, weekly episode. We also bring the guests to keep everybody up to date. We discuss all about the AI, including the challenges in the corporates, etc. So, with that, by the way, I also run actually AI strategy series of webinars at Microsoft for our customers and external participants. And pretty much every other month, we discuss some of our other topics. A 1 hour bi-monthly series. So you can also actually register for them. The next one is scheduled for the August. I'll be announcing very soon on my LinkedIn. Let's talk about the Azure AI. Okay. So this is the Microsoft AI portfolio, and it is very elaborate and very comprehensive platform. So it's not just about providing the models and the access. The AI in Microsoft products is completely infused. So if you look at it at the top, every application, whether it's 365 or Dynamics or Power BI, every component, every technology has AI infused in it. Satya Nadella has already announced more than a year ago every application will have a copilot in it. So, which means that every application also has a copilot, like Fabric has a copilot, Azure itself has a copilot, every other. And Priya will talk more about the copilots, right? So copilots is really a great way. If you don't want to build, you want to buy, you want to enhance the productivity, and that's the play that you want to go after, then Copilot is the way to go. But if you want to have a comparative differentiation, right, something that others are not able to buy, but you can develop on your own, that's why you have to build. And when you have to build, you need tools. That is what you see here in the Azure AI. So you see the different kind of services, the cognitive search, and the form recognizer and things like that. But you also see the foundational AI services like vision, speech, decision, language, and OpenAI, of course, as well. Underlying, we also have a platform called Azure Machine Learning, okay, where you can do actually your conventional stuff. It always used to exist for last, like probably about a decade. It has existed, and you can actually use that today as well to do your data science and conventional AI development. But what do you use it for? Really, these are some of the samples of the use cases that the organizations are using the AI for, right? So if you look at across the functions, and that's the beauty of it. We actually publish our work trend index report, survey report, which Microsoft does, thousands of people across the enterprises. And it comes out with several reports. We have also commissioned some of the studies with IDC, for example. And all of them actually also emphasize the point that AI is not limited to certain pockets in the enterprise. Sometimes people think that, okay, maybe only finance or marketing are trying it. But no, everybody in the organization is actually going for it. So it's pretty much distributed. Every function is actually trying it. The other thing is that people are also trying it. And if the organizations fail to provide them these safe ways of using the AI, people are bringing their own AI. They want to use the AI, they want to progress. And that also came out in that survey. So it is imperative for the organizations to actually provide those tools that makes it more safe, not less. Okay. So I'm going to continue moving and let's talk about the Azure AI platform. So Azure AI is really bunch of AI services, and this is more from a build point of view, right? So we're leaving Copilot behind. Priya will touch upon that later. Now let's talk about the build aspects of AI. So you have the Azure AI services. Then you have Azure Machine Learning Platform, where you can actually develop your conventional data science applications. You have the responsible AI tools, where you can actually define your metrics, you can track, you measure, evaluate, and make sure that everything that you're developing is safe and sound. Then you have underlying platform called Azure AI Studio, and that's the focus of today that we will talk more about it, where you can actually develop all your Gen AI application. Now, let me know if you're not able to hear the sound, but I do want to play this video to give a quick summary of the Azure AI Studio.
To bring AI solutions.
Can everybody hear the sound?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, I think we're good.
To market faster and more efficiently, developers need better tools. Azure AI Studio is a comprehensive AI development platform designed to be the place for you to build and scale responsible generative AI solutions. AI Studio has a robust catalog of pre-built and customizable frontier and open source models, including those from Azure OpenAI Service, Hugging Face, NVIDIA, and Meta, including the popular Llama 2 LLM, which is now available as a service, with pay-as-you-go inference APIs and hosted fine-tuning. Whether you're working with structured, unstructured, or real-time data, you can smoothly apply it to your models, along with sophisticated hybrid search to fuel high-performing app experiences. AI developers can create data-enriched and detailed prompts to get the best results from the generative model using prompt flow, and then use tooling to compare and automatically evaluate model outputs. AI Studio provides seamless integration with VS Code, GitHub Codespaces, Semantic Kernel, and LangChain. Azure AI Studio is equipped with built-in content safety, responsible AI tools, and enterprise-grade security, privacy, and compliance measures. No matter what your generative AI solution may be, you can create it here. Build with Azure AI Studio.
Microsoft.
To bring AI.
Can you check your microphone?
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for the prompt, Ron. See, that video did actually much better job than me, right? So, but let's talk about some more details. There are over 1,700 models and their variants available in the Azure AI Studio, starting with Azure OpenAI Service. And here's the thing, something unique about it. Nobody else can give you the access other than the OpenAI and the Microsoft to the Azure OpenAI Service. These models are still the best of the best, right? They're out there. People are still trying to beat them, right? They are without them in the comparison makes no sense. So they're available. And just recently, the GPT-4 Mini was announced just last week, and it's already available. So Azure actually now follow the fast follow approach. The same day that OpenAI releases a model and the offering, that is also available within the Azure as well. So you can play with that. Now, GPT-4 Mini particularly, right? So while GPT-4 Mini is not too different in terms of the functionality, it is a multimodal, right? Unlike many of the models, even the Llama that came out recently, right? It's not multimodal yet. The cloud also has some limitations on the multimodal output. The GPT-4 Omni is actually multimodal. So both the input and the output. And you can use that today in the playground. The beautiful thing about a GPT-4 Mini is the cost is ridiculously down. It's 90%. So 15 cents for a million token, right? And an input. That's too much. Compare that to the GPT-4 Omni cost, which was $5 per input per million token for the input, right? So that is how cheap the models have become, right? So it's the cost, to be honest, is no more a concern for most of the enterprises. Now, you have lots of other model as well. So this is the crown of the jewel, but there's another gem also that we have, which is Phi. This is Microsoft's own family of model, right? So I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. But let's talk about within the Azure AI. So you have the Azure AI Studio, which is GA. There's GPT-4 Omni with global deployments. We have 5.3 small language models. Then we have GPT-4 Turbo with Vision, DALI 3, Whisper API, which is text to speech and all that. You can actually have a feature called On Your Data, essentially bring your data to chat. You can build the agent, right? Agentic AI is the future. The projected market is $1 billion next decade. And that assistance API is what helps you create the agent. You can fine tune the GPT models as well. And there's a batch API also. So that's another offering that was released earlier a few weeks ago, where you can actually, you don't have to do everything interactive real time. You can actually submit a load and it can, over the night, it can process things. There are content filters. You can define the content and make sure that everything is safe and sound. And there are a bunch of other services as well. So these are just some of the new and recent announcements that happened. Let's talk about the 5.3 quickly. The small language models, tiny but mighty. This, one of the things about the small language models is that while their number of parameters is much less, look at the number of parameters, right? I mean, it's far, far less. They are not frontier level. But in many of the cases, they are actually at par with the frontier model. And the reason for that is um, they have been curated with very precise data, right? So the data, the quality of data makes so much difference. So it's something called distillation, right? Where we use actually large models to create curated data, synthetic data, and then use that to train the smaller models. So family is actually based on that. So they have been fed very, very quality data, and that's why they are too good, even though they are much smaller. And they have been trained also. Also, SLMs are generally trained over a longer period of time, so it actually improves the quality as well. But they are available in the Azure AI Studio. They're also, this is because this is an open source, it's also available on the Hugging Face and other platforms as well. Microsoft uses Phi in some of our own products as well. Not everything is publicly available, so can't share, but we do use Phi in many of our products as well. Now, within the Azure AI Studio, you can create the AI solution. Now, there's something recently came out, okay, just about, I think, a few weeks ago. You might have heard about it called Graph RAG. It's a new technique that was that was actually announced by Microsoft Research Group. So what happens is that when you do the baseline RAG, which is essentially a process to supply the data to the large language models, which they have not been trained on. So it could be your own enterprise knowledge base or some latest knowledge, etc., which the large language models do not have the access to or they have not been trained on. So they don't inherently understand it. That's called baseline RAG. Now, however, the baseline RAG, what happens is that since they have not been trained on it, they don't really understand the relationship between the nodes and the entities in that document. They use something called similarity, right? The vectors. So they know what the things are clubbed together, similarity, but there's a difference between similarities and connections. To really understand the connections, you have to have a graph. So in this process, in this technique, what happens is that you use actually a LLM to generate a knowledge graph out of the documents or data that you want to use in the RAG, right? Retrieval augmented generation technique. And then you create a knowledge graph, which is depicted here. Like this is how the nodes and entities and relationships look like. Then you generate and then you create a hierarchy, right? So you create community hierarchies and you create summarization, etc. And then you feed that along with the baseline RAG. And the knowledge graph that is created along with the baseline RAG, the outcome from these models is far more accurate and far more relevant. That's more important thing, far more relevant. So let's say if you use the graph RAG on your emails, right, or Microsoft 365 thing, so the many times when you say, okay, catch me up on the last 2 weeks of email, it will throw you everything, right, whatever it is. But if you use a graph RAG, what it will do is it will know which projects you are actively working on, how you are working closely with your colleagues, right? So it uses the relationships and the connections, not just similarities. That's how the graph ranks. So they are going to be very popular as a technique in some of the cases where the relationships and connections become very important. Let's move on. Mitigation. Talking about the responsible, right? So it is important to design applications responsibly. And our framework is there are multiple mitigation layers at the model level. At the model level itself, there are like safeguards built in. Then we have a safety system, which we call as content safety system. You see that like there are different content filters. You can create filters, for example, prevent the jailbreak, prevent the injection attacks, prevent the measures like, for example, safety, harm, violence, and all those kind of things, right? So we build a safety system, and that safety system is content safety, which is available and accessible through the Azure AI Studio. Then the next level of it is important that the users and the builders of the application, they use the prompts and grounding. So make sure that the models are actually grounded. In fact, we have something called groundedness detection API. You can use that to make sure that the outcome of or output of a model is actually grounded in the data that you have done. So you can measure it. And then finally, at the user experience level, users training, adoption, behavior is very important because they also need to understand how to use it responsibly. So these are different levels of responsible AI. Not going to go deep into that today. But finally, also remember that just like ML ops, you also need LLM ops. There is a life cycle of the models, right? There's a model drift, there's a data drift, there's a model upgrades. All those kind of things have to happen. You have to integrate the Python code. You have to output so there is a tool called prompt flow, which is available within the AI Studio. And using this tool, you can actually manage the life cycle of the model. You can do plenty of things. It creates kind of a graph of a workflow that you have created. You can, so it becomes kind of your low code kind of model where you can do it. You can also do the coding in it, but you do tons of things in the prompt flow and manage it. You can also evaluate the outcome of different models and then decide which one you want to keep it, right? So those kind of things you can do in the prompt flow. Finally, now AI Studio we talked about a lot. AI Studio is a key platform that we use to essentially build the Gen AI application. But remember one thing, there is actually, you also need a data foundation because you can't just keep feeding the files, right? At some place, every organization need to have an AI data foundation. That is very important. And we have created Microsoft Fabric for era of AI. It's a purpose-built platform for the era of AI. So not just the BI, but the AI as well. So if you look at Fabric, it has several workloads. Data Factory, which is for ETL, transformation engineering. You can spin a warehouse. It's an optional, by the way. You can also do the data science within Fabric as well. You can actually do your conventional data science. And you can do, of course, the real-time analytics, intelligence, all of that, all your messages, alerts, logs, and Power BI is part of the Fabric as well. Then, important thing is that the AI, a Copilot experience is built within Fabric. Everything that you see here, you can use a Copilot. So there is a Copilot for each of the module here. You can build actually report using a Copilot, right? You don't have to develop it. You can just ask it to build a report and show you all the sales insights, and create a narrative and things like that. But all your data sits in the one lake. So one lake is your data gravity. And you bring all your data in one lake, your enterprise data. You can also even create shortcuts. So you shortcut to Amazon S3 compatible sources. You can create the shortcuts to the GCP sources as well, to the several other. And it supports both the Delta Lake as well as the Apache Iceberg now. So in one lake, once you have created your data gravity there, that means all the data, whether physical or virtual, is now available in the one lake. Now the beauty is you can use the same data within the Azure AI Studio. So the data that exists in one lake, you don't have to again create a separate copy. Within the Fabric, you can create data science models on top of that layer. You can also use the Power BI reports on top of that data. You can also access the same data through the Azure AI Studio as well. So that's the beauty of it. And this is important because AI should not exist anymore in the isolation. It has to be integrated. AI, BI, data all goes together hand to hand. And that's how you create synergies. That's how you avoid redundancies. That's how you optimize costs. And that's how you create the better experience.